Hello and welcome to the third episode in the Road to Maltese series, and I've got some news for you guys. I've got some new goals, one of which is still that full Maltese, that hasn't changed, but the new one is hollow back planche form. I want to get that soon, and I'll have some videos for you guys. If you don't know what that is, don't worry, some videos are coming. I have some experts coming in to teach you more about the hollow back planche form, even more knowledgeable than myself. But for now, I'm just training for it, and that's what I want to come to now, is your training. Why you shouldn't train to failure with a planche, and why I've taken a step back from doing a lot of attempts to working at about 80% of my max capacity, reducing that intensity so I can get more volume in. So guys, what you're looking at now is me training with a light to medium resistance band to help assist me with my planche Maltese set. And why am I doing this? Of course, I've mentioned it. I want to get the perfect form for planche because my weakness has always been my scapular strength, and with attempts, that's the thing I want to talk about, is why you shouldn't train to failure. If you keep training to failure, you can't really work on your form a lot. If you're only doing attempts, really, you're not leaving a lot of space to work on your form in the long term. So that's why I'm taking the time now to work with these medium to light bands to work more on my form. The second reason why we don't want to keep doing attempts to failure but would rather want to take a step back and use some bands to help us out is because we want maximum stimulus for growth and strength while minimizing fatigue as much as possible. This is going to allow us to recover for the next few workouts because we haven't been training to failure. So this means on the Monday, instead of training that day really hard and then being sore for the Wednesday and Friday and have worse planche days on those days, instead now we're having better days on the Monday, Wednesday and Friday and even Sunday because we've been limiting how high intensity we're working with. Now the third reason why you don't want to keep doing your attempts and training to failure is because you increase your risk of injury by training at that high in intensity constantly every workout. So because I was training my Maltese and I was doing attempts every session, I started getting wrist pain, and that is something I definitely want to avoid because that's going to affect the rest of my workouts. So another reason why I'm using bands for my Maltese attempts, and you can see on screen that I do my planche work with the band, working on my form, and then after I do a superset going into my Maltese, as you can see. So the idea here that other disciplines take into account, like powerlifting, Olympic lifting, is that we don't want to train at failure, but we want to train close to failure. And in calisthenics, this is no different than any other strength discipline. So we want most of the time to be training close to failure, and this is where RPE comes in, relative perceived exertion. I will make more videos explaining deeper into this in detail, but all you really need to know about RPE is it's how hard was that set. A 10 is basically training at failure. That means you had nothing left in the tank, and then about an 8 to 7 is where we want to be for our workouts. We want there just to be about 30% left in the tank for our sets. So those are the reasons you shouldn't train to failure. However, that's not always the case. There are times when you should. So when should you train to failure? So the first time you should train to failure is when it's the last set of isolation movements. And in the Maltese and the planche, the biceps are used a lot, and sometimes I want to train my biceps specifically. So in the last set of doing dumbbell curls, something like that, in the last set I'll do some sets to failure. That's because I'm focused more on growth, high reps and endurance. The second scenario in which you would want to train to failure would be the last set of unassisted holds. So this could be you're doing the straddle planche or even the advanced tuck. You've done your sets without a band and you've been training at RPE about 5 to 6 maybe. So because you've been training at such low intensity but doing a lot of sets, so you're getting a lot of volume in, maybe the last set you want to bump up the intensity a little bit, and this will be fine because it's only the last set, so you've done the majority of your workout with a much lower intensity. So this means the fatigue build out from that one set to failure is not going to be too extreme. If it was a whole workout, that would be a different story. Okay, so the last two scenarios where you'd want to train to failure in calisthenics would be one, you want to train your max. It's been a couple of weeks and you want to see what your max, maybe straddle planche or advanced tuck hold is, and usually testing your max means you're going to train at failure, but usually you're not doing too many sets of testing your max. Usually it's only maybe 1-2 sets. And the last scenario where you'd want to train to failure would be you're focused more on building muscle rather than focus on your strength and statics. So in some strength programs, you have periods where you focus more on building muscle. This is important because building up that muscle will actually output more strength and power when it comes back to your strength cycles. So there are times where I focus more of my training on building muscle rather than just my strength. Now guys, there are more scenarios where you should train to failure and when you shouldn't, but I can't cover them all. But I will have more strength principle videos coming out soon. So if you like the idea of applying strength principles to calisthenics, leave a comment down below. Let me know what strength principles you want explained in an easy to understand way but applied to calisthenics. Okay guys, let's actually go back to my training. So on screen you can see me doing the shoulder supported Maltese, also known as the pseudo Maltese or box assisted Maltese, and I'm doing presses because I really want to increase my form in the planche but also my pressing. And this exercise is so good. I wish I knew about this one earlier. If you've seen my planche calisthenics tier list, calisthenics exercise tier list, you would have seen that I put this in there quite high, and it's such a good one. I've taken out a lot of exercises, made my program a lot simpler, and this is high up on the list. So what I'm really focusing on here is really keeping myself in line. So I'm squeezing my glutes super hard. It probably doesn't look like I'm squeezing my glutes at all, but I'm really focusing on squeezing my glutes when I'm in that full planche or full Maltese kind of press, and then I kind of go into a tuck just to get a bit more time in the position. And see, I do different progressions as I tire. So as I get more tired, I go down the easier progressions. So I went to straddle, and here I'm going to tuck. So next you see me do my unassisted presses because I don't want to rely on doing the box assisted Maltese presses for my pressing strength. I still want to keep that mind muscle connection for the full body form, because if you can train close to the actual move you're trying to do, you should. And I felt good this day, so I got one good set of the press, but here you see I hit failure, and that's going to be another thing guys. When trying not to hit failure, sometimes you will. Sometimes you'll think you'll be able to do a skill, especially because the planche pressing is quite a new skill for me. I only got it like a month or so ago, so I still don't know where my actual strength boundary is with this. So sometimes it's okay to, accidentally hit failure. I wasn't meaning to, I just wanted to do one rep rest, but now you can see I've dropped it. I've gone down straight away to doing handstand push-ups just to get that volume in, but work at a lower intensity where I won't build up so much fatigue. So here you can see me go for the full unassisted Maltese attempt. So here I'm training near failure because it had been a few weeks since I had, and I felt good. I actually got one really good hold, but I didn't catch it on camera, so I decided to pull the camera out, and of course the next few holds weren't as good. So now we move to the ring. So guys, I always want to work on my weaknesses. That's what you'll find with my training. It's a lot about attacking weaknesses, which is why I'm working on the hollow back form, because scapular strength is one of my weaknesses, and the next one is the rings. I've never really taken the time to work on the rings, so now I'm taking the specific time to do so. So in the next Road to Maltese video, you're probably going to see a lot of ring planche sets because I'm trying to get my ring full planche looking clean. Here you can see me doing assisted sets. That's about 90% of my sets on the ring. They're assisted. You can see me go for the Maltese, assisted Maltese on the rings as well. But the majority of these sets you're going to see it's going to be assisted, but few of them unassisted. It's only going to be 1 or 2 sets that won't build up too much fatigue. And yeah, it's all following that strength principle of training at about an RPE 7 to 8. So again, you can see me working the ring full planche, and as you can see, it's not a bad hold. I'm not trying to push it to failure, but that wasn't a bad hold. I've only done a few ring planche sessions, so I was quite happy with that. But as you can see, I'm not trying to push it too much. I'm still focused on the ring planche, ring Maltese, but I'm taking it slow, trying not to injure myself because my forearms still do kill from my 30-day one-arm handstand challenge. So ideally I should deload so I can allow my forearms the time to recover, but I did deload and they still weren't recovered after. So we're just going to try and manage through it and hopefully reduce the volume, that I'm using my forearms enough. I'm not doing anything that aggravates it. I'm doing all the kind of rehabilitation stuff like icing them to reduce the inflammation, and hopefully that helps. So if you guys have the similar thing, forearm pain, I'm sure some of you do, really try and reduce the things that aggravate it. If something aggravates it, I just stop doing it, and then I ice my forearms as much as possible, and my wrists, because sometimes the forearm pain is related to the wrist. However guys, training to failure or not doesn't matter if you don't have the correct workout plan to get enough volume in so you actually progress. So if you haven't watched this video, because it will give you a full workout plan that I predict will boost your planche progression if you're hitting a plateau and want to try something new.